Alright, hello. I'm Aiden, and welcome to the second episode of the Graveyard Smash Developer Diary. I call it Graveyard Smash, that's my title of choice, but there's still been a little bit of debate over what exactly we're going to call the game. But, I mean, it's just a name. What's in a name, right? We'll come up with that when we need to. So we just had our second class not too long ago, making sure everybody's on task, doing the things that are most important right now. So we've got the programmers, making sure we can get the multiplayer aspect working, get everybody we want right now, 4 to 8 players on the map all at the same time and running around without any frame rate issues or without it crashing. Making sure we can actually get the geometry and the actual map itself into the game. We got our art team hammering down the style of the game that we want, which is going to be fairly cartoony, but I don't really want to get too into the art style right now. Hopefully in the next episode I'll be able to have my lead artist in the video and he can go over the actual art style and the direction that he wants to take it. We recently acquired a new artist, environmental artist, who is really talented. I've been really impressed with what I've seen of his. He's got some good skills, so that's pretty cool. Always good to have a new member who's got that kind of talent. Yeah, and then got our design team figuring out the actual layout of how we want the game to play. We have just a simple deathmatch style map designed out right now that I have one of the guys, he's gray blocking it out, making sure everything's balanced, making sure it's, the size that we want, the scale that we want, that kind of thing. Another one of the guys writing up our high concept document, which is just a small document that includes a rough overview of everything that we want to include in the game. It's not an official design document, which is a much larger, in-depth type document, which really goes into each aspect of the game. The high concept is just an overview, just to make sure we know everybody's on the same page, just short enough that you can just kind of glance over it and really get a feel for what it is that we're trying to accomplish. I've been making sure, everybody's on task. We got some really cool stuff going on. We settled on our first 4 major characters, which include a kind of a scarecrow type character, a Medusa-like one, so we actually have a female, which is nice, but previously all our designs had all been males, and we wanted to refrain it from being quite that much of a sausage fest, so we felt the inclusion of a female character was, kind of important. There's also a fairly standard kind of Frankenstein-y-like monster, but he's a little gibble, not put together so well, so he's a little different there. And the last one is a mummy wrapped in toilet paper, which is pretty funny. I like the comedic aspect of that. And with any luck, we can kind of play on that, have him with something like a particle emitter, so he's got bits of toilet paper flying off him as he runs around, maybe dragging a little bit behind his heels, something like that. So my guys are all working on that, doing up their model sheets so they can start constructing those guys. Programmers, like I said, making sure the multiplayer works, we can get everybody in the game and playing, as well as get the HUD up and running. For the HUD, is the heads-up display, which is everything that you see around the screen when you're playing a game. Things like the health and your ammo and stuff like that is pretty generic with the HUD. So we've been kind of trying to figure out a rough design of that, and they're getting that together and working. So what else do we have going on? Environment guys are working on props, all kinds of props. You got to populate the level. I've been working on the dynamic stuff, which is all the things that the players will be picking up and throwing at each other. Got a couple of different kinds of weapons. You got one that's going to light a guy on fire, do some damage over time. One that'll explode, do kind of an area of effect damage. Things like that. The designers are also working on a major asset list. We got to make sure that the the artists know everything that we want to have in the game as soon as possible, because it's not good to be, you know, so far into something and then just kind of spring, oh hey, we should have this, we should bring this in. And while that does happen, and it's probably going to happen, I won't deny that, but it's best to have as much as you can figured out, like, as soon as possible, so the artists are on task, they're not doing things that aren't going to be needed, and they start with the things that are definitely needed, that we gotta have. So for us, it's things like the tombstones, which players will be ripping out of the ground and throwing. That's a must-have. Skulls are going to be a pretty major weapon, so you got to have a couple of those. Some foliage, trees, bushes, things like that. I mean, right now we're still in such an early stage that we don't need, you know, 10 different kinds of trees right now. Just having one or two to place around to hold the spot of the other assets as they're constructed. So once the game is done, there will be, you know, all different kinds of trees, all different kinds of bushes and plants and vines and tombstones and things like that all over the place. Lots of variety. But as things stand right now, it's more important to just have something that we can populate the level with, make sure it's balanced, make sure it's playable and that it's what we want. And we can work on building up that variety later. Yeah, so as for me, I'm doing still more of the work breakdown structure, making sure I know how long it's going to take everybody to create the deliverables that we want from them, so I can keep everything on track. As my project management teacher said, you can't manage what you can't measure. So the first thing you really got to do is measure and make sure that the scope that we're trying to achieve is possible, and if not, to trim it down to something that is actually doable in the time frame we have. This particular project is kind of nice because, I mean, it's simple and it's kind of cartoony and it'll be a lot of fun to work on, but the best part of this whole school thing is there's no budget. I don't have to worry about, you know, how much it's going to cost us. It's all just about time, which is kind of the downside of this. It's really short. We only have 6 months to really make it, you know, the full game come together. So we got to make sure our scope isn't so big that we're fighting off way more than we can chew. But yeah, as for this week, I guess that's really all I have to tell you. Like I said, next week hopefully I can have my lead artist and my lead designer on the video with me, and hopefully it won't be on my crappy webcam in my bedroom. We can actually get a decent camera and get some decent shots of our artwork, of our designs, of things, and I'll have them kind of go into what they're bringing to the table, what they want to see, where their vision sits. I mean, as the producer, I'm kind of the main keeper of the vision, but it's still important that they have their input and that they are able to, you know, see their vision come to fruition as well. I mean, this isn't just all about me, so it's important that they get to do what they want and that their vision definitely comes into play as well. So yeah, that's it for this week, I guess. I will see you next week, and hopefully with the whole lead team, and it'll be cool. You'll get to see actually some of the assets going in. So have a good week. See you later.